Tonight on Nova.
Generally aim for that dune out there.
The search for a legendary city in an endless desert. A quest to understand a forgotten people. Tantalizing clues of long-drawn adventures to seek out the ancient city of Ubar. Now, a new team of archaeologists takes up the challenge. Will they at last discover the lost city of Arabia?
Nova is funded by Prudential.
Living well isn't about being rich. It's about freedom and independence and taking control of your future. So make a plan. Be your own rock.
And by Merck.
Merck, pharmaceutical research. Dedicated to preventing disease and improving health. Merck, committed to bringing out the best in medicine.
By the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and viewers like you.
For centuries, the Rub al-Khali desert of southern Arabia has kept its secrets, hidden beneath dunes 1,000 feet high. It is said that when God divided the world into the sea and the settled lands, he left this as the empty quarter, uninhabitable, forbidding, unknown. And yet, it is also said that a fabulous city called Ubar once thrived here, only to be swallowed up by the dunes. If Ubar was real, it owed its existence to the incense trade. Camel caravans and ships carried balsam, myrrh, and frankincense for hundreds or thousands of miles, centuries before Christ. Even today, the most precious cargo of the ancient caravans is still being harvested by hand in Oman. A gift suitable for the Queen of Sheba and celebrated in the story of three wise men, the finest frankincense in all the world. Although the trees look like scrub, their resin was once valued as highly as gold. In Arabic, frankincense is called luban, or milk. At first white, it hardens quickly into fragrant crystals. So valuable was frankincense that Alexander the Great and the Roman emperors dreamed of conquering this land. In this small Omani village of the Shara people, the day is still measured by the burning of frankincense. First, hot coals are placed in a burner, then the crystals. The Shara's unique tongue has been called the language of the birds. Migrating south from the Mediterranean in ancient times, the Shara's isolated way of life has been preserved. A glimpse of a nearly vanished past. Says the woman, incense is most pleasing to God, but the men chide her for using too much. Enough, woman, enough. For thousands of years, the use of frankincense ranged from the religious to the strictly practical. It was a sacred offering to the gods, burned in sanctuaries and temples. But it was also used to mask the harsh smells of everyday life. Frankincense was also thought to have medicinal powers. Here it's used to help a child suffering from a cold, with his mother to comfort him. The Sharas still sing their ancient songs in the language of the birds. They declare proudly that they are the direct descendants of people who built a great city in the distant past, somewhere in the desert along one of the incense roads. If they're right, their song may be the last echo of the fabled lost city of Ubar. When Ubar supposedly disappeared around 300 AD, the legend began. According to a 13th century historian, Rashid al-Din, Ubar was a city created as an imitation of paradise. It prospered beyond all measure from the frankincense trade. Ubar was the pride of a prideful king, Shaddad, son of King Ad, grandson of Noah. Great was the splendor of Shaddad city, with its sumptuous palace and magnificent gardens. Too great in the eyes of a prophet who decried the king's arrogance and impiety and the wickedness of his subjects. But the Ubarites were too dissolute to pay heed to the prophet. They were too drunk to hear his words, too licentious to care. And so God punished the people of Ubar with a great wind and a terrible noise from the clouds, which struck them dumb. Then a voice rang out, "You shall perish." When morning came, there was nothing to be seen except ruins. From that day on, Ubar belonged to evil creatures, each with a single arm, leg, and eye. And it was written that anyone who ventured near would be driven mad with fear. But the Ubar legend proved irresistible to a handful of explorers like Bertrand Thomas of England. 60 years ago, Thomas set out on a daring journey and became the first European to cross the Rub al-Khali desert. Along the way, he encountered an ancient caravan route, over 100 yards wide. As Thomas wrote later, a Bedouin guide called it the Road to Ubar. While Thomas mapped his position, the Bedouin explained that Ubar was a great city. Our fathers have told us that it existed of old, he said, a city rich in treasure. It now lies buried beneath the sands, some few days to the north. Short on water, Thomas could not follow the road, but he passed on the information to his friend T.E. Lawrence, Lawrence of Arabia. Dressed here in Arab clothing, Lawrence is fourth from the right, standing with hands clasped. A soldier and archaeologist, he had a deep love of Arabian history and culture. Back in England, Lawrence became convinced the remains of Ubar lay in the desert. He called it the Atlantis of the Sands. But before he could return to Arabia, he died in 1935. It wasn't until 20 years later that a major expedition was launched by a young American archaeologist named Wendell Phillips.
شعلوم شي خبر الله براحة الخير الحمد لله نعمة الله وعافية كيف حالك
Hoping to find and follow the road that Bertram Thomas described, Phillips ventured into the Rub al-Khali. His expedition of trucks pushed on through the shifting sands until finally it reached a caravan route with 84 parallel camel tracks. Thomas's road to Ubar, as it must have looked for centuries. But Ubar itself eluded him. The caravan route led into a region of impassable dunes. From here, I knew we were through, wrote Phillips, for there is no barrier so great as billowing, immeasurable sands stretching as far as the eye could see in cruel and sublime grandeur. Finally, in California, at the Huntington Library, a filmmaker and amateur archaeologist named Nicholas Clapp decided to try again.
Morning, Elizabeth.
For years, he searched among books, documents, and maps for clues to Ubar's location. Finding the fabled city became his obsession.
This was Arabia. Arabia in the days of the incense trade. And in a way, here was a treasure map for right where it ought to be, just north of where the finest frankincense was grown, is the land of the Ubaratai. That's Latin for Ubarites.
There were other clues in the library's climate-controlled vaults. Tantalizing hints in the Quran, references in the Arabian Nights and Greek and Roman histories, and the works of Islamic geographers. In some books, Ubar was mentioned, but had a different name, or the Ubarites were called the people of Ad. But nothing gave Ubar's exact location or proved it was real.
We have main engine start.
Instead, it was the latest in space technology that provided the breakthrough. NASA scientists, intrigued with the Ubar story, agreed to alter the space shuttle's flight plan. For 95 orbits around the Earth, the astronauts performed their usual experiments. But on the 96th orbit, they steered toward the Rub al-Khali.
Handhold here? Okay, I'm loaded now.
A powerful radar signal was beamed to Earth, capable of revealing a hidden past beneath the sand. At NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab, pictures from the shuttle and two satellites were then examined. Known as false color images, they were enhanced by computers to bring out subtle geological irregularities.
So we're looking at a big chunk of country. So I think we've got something with this.
Ron Bloom is a NASA geologist.
Yeah, this is false color. This is a Landsat quarter seam. We're about 90 kilometers across here. Bertram Thomas Road area is up in here at the top.
Right across the Wadi Matan there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an ancient lake bed that hints at a greener past.
And what we want to do is go up in here.
Because caravan roads are beaten down more than surrounding areas, their soil has different reflective properties. By scanning several bands of light, The imaging reveals the roads as gossamer thin lines.
Any more processing we can do?
I've done an enhancement called a band ratio, where we divide one band by another. What that tends to do is enhance the reflectance properties in some cases. In some cases, they cancel out. So we'll see what that does for us. Let's see.
Further processing may tell which roads are relatively new and which, if any, are ancient.
And here we go.
Only when reflected near-infrared light is imaged in color is the answer revealed. Now, only one road remains, the oldest of them all. But is it the road to Ubar?
Yeah, and we have got a good track all the way up through here.
That's incredible.
The only way to find out for sure is to travel to Oman. A country of 1.5 million, Oman gets most of its income now from oil. But there are still people who follow the old ways and who talk of ancient glory, when frankincense was king and all the world sought it. Although Ubar was thought to be far inland, if anywhere, a new expedition begins on the Omani coast, nearest the incense groves. In ancient days, the Romans called this land Arabia Felix, or Fortunate Arabia, not out of admiration for its natural beauty, but out of envy for its wealth. Today, it belongs mostly to the wildlife. Before the team members search for the road to Ubar, they hope to find some trace of its builders, the mysterious people of Ad. They know that 2,000 years ago, ships arrived at a port called Moshe, from as far away as the Indies, seeking cargoes of frankincense. These ruins are all that remain of a town that guarded the harbor below. No one knows if it's really Moshe, but it does date to the time of Ubar. The expedition team is international, a mix of amateurs and professionals led by Nick Clapp. Ron Bloom is chief navigator.
A little closer to the camera here.
Oh, God.
Archaeologist Yuri Zarins is an expert on Arabia, while explorer Rand Fiennes, on the right, will handle logistics. Fiennes, like Zarins, isn't sure whether Ubar is a single city or an entire land. After so many years of planning, the search for Ubar is about to begin. But Ubar's people of Ad proved to be as elusive as Ubar itself. An inscription at some nearby ruins proclaims the site a colonial outpost of another distant kingdom. There is no mention of the people of Ad or Ubar. Hopeful of finding other sites, Yuri Zarins and Rand Fiennes explore the coast.
Wait a minute, slow down a little bit. Let's take some of these over here. They're really quite nice. Want to see those structures over there?
Got a big rock we see. You want to stop?
No, slow down here. These are really important.
Near an inlet named Khor Soli, they find hundreds of stone structures in an ancient graveyard.
Scattered all over the place. Large, huge blocks you see like that. And they're all over out here. You've never found anything yet, right? Okay, let's take a look. All right.
This is a reflection on my instructor.
Now don't step on that. There's something right there. See that? Look at there. That's pottery. So what we have here is some of that burnished ware. Now look at that. See, hold that in the sun there. It kind of shines. See that? So the people who made that pottery took a little stick and they rubbed it real good to give it a shine. They were poor. They couldn't make fancy pottery. So that kind of technique tells us a lot because it's not as recent as some of the other pottery. And it's at least from the time of Christ, maybe even a lot earlier.
The pottery's age and distinctive style leads Aarons to believe it could be the work of the people of Ad. Ubar is thought to have lasted for 3,000 years, but when it disappeared a few centuries after Christ, the people of Ad seemed to vanish with it. Of all the coastal sites the expedition team visited, it was most interested in a place called the Oracle of Ad. An oracle is an ancient shrine to the gods, but the site is also marked by a great dry well.
Ran right to your left. Yeah, there you go.
They find something at the well's ancient water line.
So what do we got? 4 blocks there?
It's a cluster of stones, which could be the remnants of a platform where the people of Ad filled their jugs with water.
Now you see by your left foot?
Yeah.
Yeah, go to your left a little bit more to Travle. Yeah, what's that?
Wood.
Can you get down to it?
The wood dates to a period when Ubar had already vanished. But there may be older artifacts down at the bottom.
The first rim, I think. See that ledge just behind you, Nick?
Got about 5 feet.
Okay. If we touch it at all, we'll bring the whole lot down, so we've got to be very, very careful.
We're close here.
Stop! These look really precarious.
What was planned as a brief inspection now threatens to become something far more dangerous.
Behind us, look. On the bottom of that area there, right the way across for about 15 feet. One goes, the whole lot will go.
The search is quickly abandoned. Disappointed, the team leaves the coast for the rugged slopes of the Dhofar Mountains, beyond which lies more fertile land. For centuries, the mountains protected the people of Ad from coastal invaders. Today, the region is settled by the Shara tribe. A similar chant would have been heard as the ancient caravans passed through on their way to the frankincense groves. This was thought to be a land of jinns, spirits who could stir the wind. The legend, like the mountains, discouraged the uninvited. In the 5th century BC, Herodotus, the Greek historian, warned of flying snakes that guarded the frankincense trees. Today, the carpet viper is deadly enough, with no antidote for its venom. Those who traveled in the caravans sometimes left their mark in the valley's many caves. Perhaps while camped here, a man saw a wolf attacking an ibex and recorded the scene. Nearby, a camel had just given birth and was suckling her young. And here are camels laden with incense on their way to Jerusalem, Damascus, or Antioch, Gaza, or Alexandria. And this may be the route itself, winding its way through the centuries. Not far from the groves lies the Vale of Remembrance. Here one can find the remains of the once honored dead, now long forgotten. Further down the vale are monuments called triliths, ancient memorials lining the route into the desert. A few miles further, and the sands erase everything. Graves, monuments, even cities. The expedition plan is to angle across the desert to intercept the Ubar caravan road at a point close to where the team hopes the city is hidden. The way lies across a plain of illusions, showing water where none exists. The illusion is caused by the heat, an apt symbol of everything that remains ethereal about the desert city. Like the discoverers of ancient Troy, the team can only hope that all the tales of Ubar are more than a mere mirage. Once again, they turn to space-age technology.
Okay, you got a position.
Ready to find a position for us. Very difficult to navigate around here. Everything, all the dunes look very similar.
The team relies on a global positioning system. But today, the system isn't working because the satellites are being realigned. Getting lost in the desert can be a fatal mistake. When they set up camp, they carefully check their equipment and supplies. Food, water, and fuel will be rationed from now on. Although some settlements exist at the edge of the empty quarter, they are few and far between.
Is this Curry?
There are other dangers here as well. Rand Fiennes remembers a brief encounter with the dreaded camel spider.
Not asleep yet. 18 years ago, we were camped near here. My signaller, Ibrahim, got visited in the night. The spiders are 6 inches long, hairy legs, and big mandibles. One of them couldn't get into his sleeping bag, so it started to eat his face. It desensitizes before it bites, so you don't know that it's biting. This fellow woke up in the morning, and half of his nose and all of his cheek had gone AWOL. Sleep well.
That looks like it might be a little soft. Careful.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, this is soft.
Nick, hold on in the back of it, Nick.
Oh, very good. All right, here we go.
On the second day out, the team encounters its first heavy dunes.
Sorry, I've got you off the bearing.
This is to get on high ground.
Inevitably, the vehicles get stuck. It becomes a well-worn routine. Shovel sand away from the wheels. Drop the air pressure to 16 pounds per square inch. Jack up the wheels. Then drop them back down onto aluminum sand ladders. If anyone complains, they need only be reminded of Bertram Thomas, who spent 2 weeks on a camel getting here. On the other hand, Thomas was never lost. Highlighted on this false color map is the planned search area. But without a satellite reading, The team could be anywhere. By the time the device is working, they're far off course.
Okay, we got a reading. And it looks like we're about 30 kilometers from where we want to be.
That's not too good.
No, we're up here by this dune. It's this dune behind us. And where we want to be is all the way over here. And it's roughly 30 kilometers between the two, but we can't go straight there. We're going to have to work our way back down this dune street. And then either out through here or out around through here.
With all the fuel expended on yesterday's detour, there's no room for further error.
If Ron's doing his dead reckoning navigation very carefully, shouldn't be any bother. But when you come to these two enormous lines of heavy dune, I can't see a way through.
Sounds okay.
Now you can see a bit further ahead.
Yeah, oh, this is great. Well, I think you want to generally aim for that dune out there. Okay. That gets you in the right direction. That makes sense. From looking at the image, this is the only way in here. Short of walking, that is.
So the one that I'm aiming at now is the one you want here?
Yeah.
Their high-tech navigating system occasionally goes down. When that happens, the team is reduced to simple dead reckoning. Every few kilometers, they have to stop and take a compass reading. One mistake, and they're lost again.
Hold it a second. I'm going to take a bearing.
The reading must be taken away from the vehicle's magnetic field.
Okay, 224 degrees.
Watch out for the shot stuff.
Right. There's quite a lot of it to watch out for.
Really our only choice.
So it's up and over or not at all.
That's right.
There's a Bedouin song of the desert that goes, "Only a fool will brave the desert sun, searching for ghostly cities of the mind. Allah protect us from jinns and fiends, spirits of evil who infest the dunes."
That's a little bit here we're coming out of.
Yeah, we're just coming out of this nasty stuff right here.
If their calculations are right, they should be able to see the road from atop this ridge. The caravan route that Bertram Thomas found more than 60 years ago. And there it is at last, a track in the sand slightly lighter in color, the road to Ubar. "2,500 camels at a time would have passed here, on their way to the great markets of the ancient world."
So what we're looking at is an encampment, and here, for example, you've got a potsherd, which means that, again, in this particular part of the world, we're talking about the time zone, say 1500 BC.
Who's previously found pottery in the empty inside?
There hasn't been any really in the empty quarter per se.
What? So this is the first bit of pottery?
Yes, that's one of the first
The
pieces
empty
we've ever
quarter.
found. Right, Rabal Holly.
Yuri, you are a maestro.
But finding the road to Ubar is just the beginning. After a brief stop, they push on, with Zarins as lookout.
Okay, go ahead. Off to your left,
But when they try to follow the road north, it becomes increasingly difficult to imagine a city thriving here, or even surviving. And even if Ubar does lie out there, the chances of finding it seem nil. Only one hope remains, that this isn't the road to Ubar, but the road from Ubar. That the city lies back the other way, closer to the incense groves. According to this satellite map, branches of the road lead to a pair of other sites, Hilat Araka and Shishir. The team checks out Hilat Araka first. There's little evidence of occupation from the time of Ubar. And yet there's an ancient tale about the incense road, told by the local sheikh. The story is that Hilat Araka was once an outlying settlement in the land of the Ubarites. Caravans coming up from the incense groves would stop here to rest. Then they would go on to the great water hole at Shishir, as represented by these two stones. A number of branches converge on Shishir. It's the team's last chance to find clues about Ubar's location. But Shishir has undergone a radical transformation in just a few years. A modern village has been built here by the government.
There's even a housing development, would you believe? No.
The people of Shishir welcome the visitors warmly. Salam alaikum, peace be upon you, no matter what peculiar reasons brought the strangers to the village. It's time for tea and conversation. For its part, the team puts on a cheerful front. But after 10 years' research and a full-scale expedition, there is nowhere else to go. They are quite literally at the end of the road. Ubar. Surely we don't know where it is, says the sheikh. Maybe not far away. Things get misplaced in the desert. But if the visitors are interested in ruins, there are in fact some here. They are just behind the tent. According to the villagers, these are the remnants of a fort 500 years old. Bertram Thomas was told the same story, and there is little reason to doubt it. In Arabic, Shishir means the cleft, formed long ago when an underlying cavern collapsed.
I think there's a fracture system here, and that's what provided all the water. So what we got here then is kind of initially a large kind of dome. People may be living around it in kind of a seep, and then the water table fell down, then this fell in on it.
Yeah, it created a sinkhole from all the water moving through here.
Curious about what might be down there, the team decides to investigate.
After this fracture took place. Ready?
Okay, yeah, I'm ready.
Without taking time to dig, there's only one way to see if anything lies beneath the sands in the sinkhole.
Okay, we're on.
A device called the red sled can transmit radar impulses to uncover variations in density far below the surface. 30 feet down, the radar detects the outline of an ancient well.
This is where it's coming down, right?
Yeah, it's coming down here.
Good.
So we got halfway there. You see, that's all this sand film which is sitting in here.
3 meters.
6 meters. And 9.
That's it.
The team also discovers some ruins that fell into the sinkhole, perhaps during an earthquake. Yuri Zarins ponders the possibilities.
Frankly, I didn't know what we had. If this was Ubar, it seems to me that someone would have figured that out a long time ago. My first thought was that this was just a medieval site, maybe a stop on the road to Mecca. But of course, that would have been far too recent to fit the Ubar legend. Well, there was one thing we could do. Stop speculating and start digging.
Willing to give it a try, the team decides to excavate the ridge extending east from the existing ruins. A group of assistant archaeologists and students join them from Southwest Missouri State, Yuri Zarins University.
Yeah.
It's a fragment of Persian pottery.
That's the early piece.
In hopes of finding more, every bit of rubble, dirt, and sand is carefully screened.
Anything interesting?
Shisher slowly begins to yield up its past. These are potsherds from ancient Greece. And these are from Syria, dating back to 500 BC. From the artifacts found in the first few days, it becomes clear that Shisher is much more than a medieval site. It isn't 500 years old, it's 5,000 years old. Not only is there pottery imported from distant lands, but also distinctive pieces made by the people of Ad. So Shisher was definitely an ancient site. But was it a settlement of consequence?
That's really good plaster work there.
The answer comes in the second week of digging, when the foundation of a wall takes an unexpected curve.
Comes off clean.
It's the base of a horseshoe tower.
So it's got to make a kind of a semicircle. Here's our rock, and then there's that wall that comes around there, and we've got some small rocks here, so we'll join up, comes around there. But it looks great. Okay, Rick, so... a tower. Think about that. You don't just build one in the middle of nowhere. You have a wall here, then a tower, then you're going to have more wall, more towers, all protecting a large enclosed structure, a fortress. That'll look real good, so I'd say take it out like this, like that, so we can get out to here, and then we'll have it. Come on in, Nick. Come on a little farther. All right.
For every significant find, a photograph is taken for later reference.
There you are. Got it.
Okay.
All righty. Steady yourself.
Set on a sturdy stone foundation, the mud brick tower would have risen as high as 30 feet. But what's a tower doing at Shisher? That evening, Nick Clapp returns to the ancient sources that first inspired him. In most translations of the Quran, Ubar is called the city of pillars, whose like has not been seen in the entire land. But some translations describe it as a city of towers. Yuri Zarin's students are now joined by dozens of volunteers who have heard of the site's promise and who have come to help dig. For them and the people of Shishir, there's a growing sense of anticipation.
طبعا هم بيجوا هنا بيشوفوا المنطقة هذه وأيضا هم باقين لو كان في حجرة موجود في مكتب الوالي ولا شيء.
It's now clear that the outer wall continues on to another tower, turns and passes a third, then crosses a gap to a fourth. As the pattern of the settlement is uncovered, the team is even able to predict the location of buried walls.
So what we're going to have you do is help out right in here. Clear off the material here, see if we can find that continuation of the wall, all right? And here is our 0 point.
And 80 is here.
All right, so you ought to have the wall there somewhere, right?
All right.
Okay, so use your trowel, not your fingers.
Why is that?
Well, because you've got glass sometimes, the flint's real sharp. You don't want to touch your hands. Yeah, you find glass there. There you go.
Look at this.
Yeah, there's your wall. Yep. Don't move that. Just leave that.
I think this is
just
a
leave
definite goer.
Yeah, any big rock, just leave. You never know what the heck they did. Sometimes they'll surprise you. If they put a tower in or something, and what you have is you removed all the rocks to the tower, then I get mad.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yep, no.
After weeks of digging, Zarins is finally willing to make an educated guess.
Well, you certainly couldn't ask for a better crew, or a better site for that matter. But was this really Ubar? Someday, if we're lucky, we'll find an inscription that says, yes, this is the place. But short of that, the site's age, the way it's laid out, even its destruction, are a match for its legend. Hold it steady right there, and I'll find you.
As the work continues, his confidence grows that the lost city has indeed been found. A volunteer finds an artifact in the ruins of what may have been a citadel, the stronghold of the city.
Sort of period over then? That'd be South Arabic period, time of Christ, something like that. It's really nice, beautiful.
It's the handle of an oil lamp, used when Ubar was at its height. With the aid of the Omani Air Force, Zarins can now survey the entire site from the air. In Ubar's day, the cavern below must have been filled with water.
There's no question that water was key here. In this desert, Ubar could have been hidden anywhere in, say, 50,000 square miles. But it's here because there's water, permanent water. I'd be willing to lay odds that this is the only major site in the whole area.
With water, the fortress would have made a fitting home for a king like Shaddad. It would have had a processing and storage facility for the frankincense, and high, thick walls to withstand a siege. But Ubar was far more than a fortress. It would have been surrounded by thousands of tents, set in a vast oasis. Shaddad's imitation of paradise now turned to sand. To the northeast, there are remnants of campsites where most people lived. Here, frankincense caravans would have stopped and pitched their tents, resting up for the grueling trek across the Rub al-Khali. A few stunted trees are ghostly reminders of palm groves, orchards, and fertile fields. Around these fire pits, there was once talk of distant trade and gossip of the goings-on in Ubar's central market, a short distance away. For untold generations, desert lore had preserved the tale of Ubar. And yet it was never suspected that the fabled city lay hidden beneath their feet. But this we know, the Sheikh declares. The people of Ad were corrupt. It's in the Quran. For their sins upon the land, God punished them. A great wind was said to herald the end. This is how Ubar may have looked on its last day. About 150 people would have lived within the fortress walls. Family and servants of the king, administrators and record keepers of the frankincense trade. But as legend has it, when the people of Ad refused to heed the word of God, King Shaddad's world was doomed to crumble in a great cataclysm. God's justice was swift and sure. And so it was Ubar's myth that led the way to the truth. Schooled in the Quran, these children know all about the price of Shaddad's wickedness. But now they will also know about an ancient city that played a key role in a vast network of trade, until an earthquake destroyed it. Everything is gone now, Zarins explains. What happened to the towers? They fell down. Then everything else fell down too. Several more seasons of digging have taken place since the team first arrived. But there is still much to be done. Tons of sand and rubble must be sifted and removed, and artifacts analyzed. But there is great hope of further discovery, as a forgotten people and their lost city take their rightful place in history. After nearly 2,000 years, the desert is giving up its secrets at last.
Learn more about the space-age techniques that archaeologists use to find and reveal hidden ruins. Head for NOVA's website at pbs.org.
To order this show for $19.95 plus shipping and handling, call 1-800-255-9424. and to learn more about how science can reveal the truth and solve the mysteries of our world, ask about our many other NOVA videos.
Next time on NOVA, is it possible to fly around the world in a balloon? These men think so, but they know it won't be easy.
In my opinion, it's going to be hell. And I'm going around the world because I want to be the first man that's ever done it.
3 men and a balloon.
For a transcript of this or any other NOVA program, call 1-800-831-9000. NOVA is a production of WGBH Boston. NOVA is funded by Merck.
Merck, pharmaceutical research. Dedicated to the needs of an aging society. Merck, committed to bringing out the best in medicine.
And by Prudential.
Living well isn't about being rich. It's about freedom and independence and taking control of your future. So make a plan. Be your own rock.
By the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and viewers like you.
This is PBS.